So, welcome, Quentin. Thank you very much for your time. We're here today to talk about the impact report phase number two. Um, and yeah, for people who watched that video for the very first time, maybe you want to introduce yourself.
Happy to be here to talk about the impact report. I'm Quentin, leading operations at My First Bitcoin.
Okay, yeah. And every quarter we release something called the impact report that is measuring what our impact in the world is through decentralized Bitcoin education. Um, yeah, you are the driving force behind that, collecting all the data from all departments and trying to squeeze that into one report. And I would share my screen in a minute. By the way, I'm Patrick, Director of Communications and Events for people who don't know me. I will now share my screen so we can discuss the single slides step by step to walk people through what we're actually trying to express with that very, very compressed set of numbers, I would say. So this is the cover sheet, what we're talking about. And this is the general structure of our document. We will walk you through that step by step, trying to be very concise, a minute or two per slide, and walk you through that. By the way, you can actually download this report on our website, myfirstbitcoin.org/support us. And let's jump right into that. And I think this is something new, the education flywheel. I'm super happy that we're using that right now to actually express our impact in the world. And maybe you can share some thoughts about the education flywheel.
Absolutely. Well, the goal is to ignite and accelerate the growth of a movement. The movement is independent Bitcoin education. In our opinion, education needs to be independent in order for Bitcoin to be adopted. Otherwise, it will be co-opted. So that's the way we grow the movement. We first and foremost focus on independent educators, and we give them the tools so that they can bring more students, so that they can themselves become community leaders and ambassadors of the movement, bring more students in the network, and out of these students, some of them will become educators, training more students, et cetera, et cetera. So the goal is to accelerate the movement, and the flywheel is the way to illustrate that movement growing. And so we have numbers in there that show how many educators we've taught, how many are teaching, how many students have joined the network, how many of them have become Bitcoiners after taking the Bitcoin diploma, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the network growing, basically.
Okay, and yeah, the main thing what we realized when talking about how to actually scale what we're doing is that every potential or every student is a potential educator and community leader, right? So
Absolutely.
this is what we're trying to visualize here, that a lot of people come and maybe do the introduction to Bitcoin course or the diploma, and then go on, like after being a student, to become a Bitcoiner, and then actually becoming an educator themselves to later on open up a community to attract new beginners who then become maybe student and then an educator. Yeah, and meanwhile, it's pretty cool. 199, so we're cracking the 200 educators worldwide pretty soon. I'm super stoked to see that. And this is also what we integrated. I guess for the very first time. I don't know if the last report had that. It's actually, what have we done in the past? What are we going to roll out? I don't think that we necessarily need to go into that in depth, because if we do that, we will actually talk about the actual report. But it's something like a table of content. Would you agree with that? Like, what are we doing?
It's more of a snapshot of the things we're working on, and that basically are building the infrastructure for this movement.
Uh-huh.
So we shipped a bunch of stuff with the new branding, the website. We made some good progress on the educator training program, some pages, some events. Um, and what we're still working on is mostly, so we're working on the app, the companion app for educators, the reputation system for communities to show proof of impact and proof of work, the publishing studio that will enable us to, that already enables us to publish the programs in more than 50 languages, et cetera, et cetera. So it's more of it's, a snapshot of where things are going internally. But
Wow.
again, the impact report, we strive to make it about the network itself. So it's just one slide talking about what we're doing behind the curtains.
Yeah. And I think like the huge impact, this is like the outlook of where things are going. We can't talk about that in detail, but I think if I'm not mistaken, like the next impact report will feature especially the tech side of things and what we've done in the education programs. So I'm super happy to talk about that, I guess, in October. But
Yeah,
for now, let's focus back on talking about the flywheel, and it's if we talk about the flywheel, making students, educators, and community leaders, I think it's more tangible if we talk about people than an
absolutely.
abstract flywheel. This is Susan from Kenya. She was actually at our on conference in Kenya in April, if I'm not mistaken. It says here, yes. And this journey is absolutely insane in a positive way. What do you think?
Absolutely. Well, she followed the Bitcoin diploma with the core, then she went to the conference in Kenya. She went through the educator training program, and then she started teaching on her own, and she created a circular economy and an education project, a community. So she went through all the steps of the flywheel in 80 days, which is crazy, as you said. And it's the embodiment of going through the whole process of empowering yourself as an individual and then empowering others with education, community support, etc., etc. So, she's the face of the flywheel for this report.
Yeah, 100%. And what's super interesting for people who've watched like the past podcasts or read the impact report number one, she graduated from the core, from Felix, right? Who we featured in the last report
Absolutely.
and who we did the event with. So
Yep.
she's already the second generation, right, of that. So super, super interesting. Um, And now going to Rooney. I met him at our Prague event. Super cool. Do you want to share like some thoughts about like his journey?
Yeah, well, Rooney is one of the OG educators in our network. He went through the educator training program, graduated his second cohort, came to the end conference, and again, it's a great illustration of the flywheel working.
Yeah. Um, and I guess we are having another example. I talked to Catherine. I guess it was in May. We chatted about, and she was like, "Yeah, I just graduated, and I'm thinking about like doing something for women." And pulling through with that, I think, is also super interesting. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, she did the educators training program in April, but also I think the actual when she ran through the diploma is also not that far away, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
I think you're right. I think you're right. And so again, she went through the educator training program. She went through the Bitcoin diploma first because it's prerequisite to joining the ETP. Then she founded her own project, Bitcoin Bloom Collective, and now she's teaching the same diploma that she received. So that's amazing, and she's focusing on women. So again, a very good example of the flywheel working.
Yeah, and I think for everyone watching that, asking yourself, okay, maybe I went through the diploma, or I'm thinking to go through the diploma, but teaching is like it's not for me. I think these stories are super encouraging that it's doable and that you get like all the tools to actually make that happen. Um, yeah, super happy to have that ideas. We will share more of these ideas in every single report. Um, yeah, and I think we can jump with that to he's an OG. I'm super happy to meet him in person in what is it now? In a week. We
Hmm.
will meet him in Indonesia to film like the next episode of our documentary. And you know Dimas way longer than I do. Do you want to share
I met him
some thoughts?
last year at the Bitcoin Indonesia conference. Great educator, great guy, and he is relentless. He's taught so many people. He's done teaching in various ways. If I'm not mistaken, he's organized community events, but also the Bitcoin diploma, and they've trained new educators. So there are like mini flywheels operating within the My First Bitcoin flywheel, if I can say it this way, because they've trained educators that now teach the new generations of students. So yeah, what's happening in Indonesia is really, really underrated, and Dimas is part of that.
Yeah, and I'm super happy. So we're traveling from Jakarta to Bandung to his home city, and he told me, I guess it's the first time that the diploma was ever taught in Asia at all. So it's
Hmm.
his hometown. We will go there, we will film there, and then go to Surabaya, where actually our event will take place. We will talk about that probably in a minute, and later on to Bali, where the Bitcoin house is. So there will be a super cool journey. And also on the day after our conference, we will have a community leaders meeting. So there will be 20 of his community leaders all across Indonesia, because it's already like the second generation of educators and community leaders we're seeing there. And we will probably talk about the ETP quite much. I'm super happy in the middle of building the slide deck for that day. That will
Yeah, that's
be
amazing.
something
That's
else.
amazing.
Yeah.
And conferences are great, and we're gonna talk about them in a bit, right?
Yes. Yes. And like the overall map where we at right now. I have. I think what's super interesting about that is um, the overall number of communities grew since the last report, right? And it grew like quite significantly from my point of view. Um, but the numbers of countries decreased. And if I'm not mistaken, but this is like a very good example, decreased like by two countries, I'm sorry. What I think what's super interesting about that is, so we always look around in the network and look like who is actually active, right? So if people don't continue to provide value, if I'm not mistaken, we also take them out of the network. So normally if people display numbers, there are some like, dead accounts, right? To make the numbers look better. But what we actually go through, we go through the network and see who is actually contributing. Are they still active? Do they do something else? And I think this is the reason why we reevaluated that, if I'm not mistaken. Can you share some thoughts about that?
Yeah, we removed a few communities from the network that were inactive. I don't know if the number of countries was affected by that or by an issue in the first report. What I can say is that we're transitioning the network from this governance model where you have to be accepted by the existing nodes to join the network to a reputation system model where as you show proof of impact and proof of work as a community, providing education, organizing events, that kind of stuff, you earn points, reputation points, and that makes you grow in the leaderboard.
Mm. And I guess Arnold will showcase that your tomorrow, my today. So it's Thursday for your time zone, I guess. Arnold will show that for the very first time. And I'm super happy about that because it makes it a little bit, again, more transparent, and it makes it, yeah, it's actually proof of work, right? What do people
Absolutely.
do? How many students do they teach? What do they contribute to the overall movement? Instead of like, for example, could be like how other organizations do it. How good is their relationship with us, for example? But this should actually not matter. I mean, we're super happy if we have good relationships, but it's about the proof of work. And
Hmm.
I think it's a huge step into that direction to make that tangible. And also, again, Arnold is building a CRM at the moment, so we now have a database to actually showcase that, right? To make that transparent and to actually show the community growth and what they contribute. And again, it's a good example where technology helps us very, very much with transparency and actually doing our job. Um,
Absolutely. And I think changing models is the right way to do that. Um, because up until now it was a bit black and white, either you're in or you're out, and having a gradual scale that is reflected by the leaderboard enables us to support communities from the very beginning, from these individuals that just became educators and they want to start a project in their community, and we just help them from the start, get a name, get a logo, get social media accounts, get a website, etc., etc. And as they do that, they earn points, so they are rewarded to grow. And again, that contributes to accelerating the flywheel. We want to have 1,000 projects, more than that, all around the world, teaching about Bitcoin to their peers, creating new Bitcoiners that will become educators, that will create their own communities, their own projects, et cetera, et cetera. So that's part of the same strategy.
Yep, and a quick side note, what I've discovered yesterday while preparing the slide deck for Indonesia, what's outstanding from my point of view, we rolled out the ETP, so the educators training program, to actually help people to become better educators instead of like having a diploma and just trying to teach. And we're looking at almost 200 educators right now. And what I saw yesterday, because Gabe is in the middle of building a dedicated website for that, we now have 90 educators who already ran through that training, which is like outstanding. It's like 50% of the network in just a few months, right? Um,
Yeah. We've trained educators that were already in the network. We've trained educators that were not yet educating. So there is some overlap, but yes, absolutely. Like we are accelerating. It's part of the transition from local to global. It's part of our transition from teaching students to empowering educators, and focusing on educators means training them, providing them with the tools. Even our programs are being updated to serve the educator even more.
yeah, yeah, super, super great progress. Yeah, and this is like the unconference we did in Prague together with Dusan from MITH, which was a huge success. Yeah, almost 100 people there. And what was so interesting, we had 21 pitches. Um, like in comparison, is like you need to understand like 100 people, but 20 of those got onto stage pitching a topic they
Yeah.
actually want to contribute, which is like an amazing ratio from my point of view.
Hmm.
So it ended up us, that was like, yeah, very funny behind the scenes. We actually had trouble to squeeze all people into the agenda because we actually didn't have enough time to have all people speak, which is a luxury problem. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that's a great problem to have for sure.
It's a great problem to have. And the diversity of topics was absolutely astonishing. And the diversity of like, of course, we made it around BTC Prague. So we had a lot of like international people there. But like 100 people and 28 countries. I've That's kind of a diversity of background of people. It was a really cool thing. In Opera was the location called, I guess, in Prague. Really cool. We had a really good time. We built some really good relationships. And yeah, Rooney was there, the guy we talked about earlier from Curacao, I guess. And yeah, I would say a full success. And we screened our documentary for the first time. We will have a slide about that. I guess it's the one afterwards. I hope so, or maybe it's coming later. Or we will come back to that later. So that was like the second event we had. The first one was Kenya. Then we had Prague, and now I'm in the middle of preparing. I'm in Sydney right now, and I will fly to Indonesia next week to first film the documentary I've talked about with Dimas. And then we literally end up in Surabaya, where we'll have the next conference on the 22nd of August. Yeah, super happy about that. The location looks great. So everyone who wants to come, check out our website. In the About section, there's an event section. You just go there and you can click through to the ticketing or use the QR code in the document you can download. Same thing. Do you want to say something about Medellin? I'm also like, this is the one in September. Do you want to share some thoughts about that?
Sure. I mean, Medellin is going to be incredible. I'm feeling FOMO just like I did for Prague and the Kenya and conference as well. Indonesia it will be amazing. Colombia will be interesting because it will be the conference. It will also be a moment for the My First Bitcoin team to connect, because we're a remote team that is spread all around the globe almost. And well, we don't get to meet outside of these digital meetings. So that's going to be a good moment to connect and maybe not work too much and just connect. So yeah, pretty excited about that as well.
Yeah, let's wait if it actually works that we don't work. But
I know.
yeah, but we have some like really cool plans there, and yeah, and I mentioned it earlier, but like at both events, we will also film documentary episodes there, and we will release them over the course of the year. Yeah, super happy about that, and I think now going to finances. Do you want to share your thoughts about that, about the transparency and finances and where we're at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a budget of slightly over $1 million for 2026. We've funded 52% of it. We've used some of our treasury to fund our operations, and we're still looking for approximately 500K. That's super important. We're not a company. We don't sell anything. We rely exclusively on donations. So we need funding, and we say no to funding because it comes with strings attached, and many projects might not be that difficult to work with, but we are, and it's a feature, not a bug. We are completely independent. That's all we have. Impartiality and independence is all we have as a project that wants to promote independent Bitcoin education. So it's difficult. We are looking for that funding from key partners that can support us with no strings attached. But also, we need that funding to come from the community itself. We need small donations to support our work, and everything that we just discussed. We can do it because we receive that money. If we stop receiving that money, then we can no longer exist and do all of that. So there is a need for funding. We're doing okay for now, and we're growing. We're building a lot of cool things in terms of curriculum, infrastructure, events, etc., etc. But yeah, so doing well for now, but we need funding.
Yeah, and let's build like in a clear call to action. We can I think do that. if you're watching that and you want to contribute and you think like education is the core thing to actually make Bitcoin work on the long run, also go to our website on the support us page. You will find all the details, how to support us if you're a grant or fund or a private person who wants to contribute. Yeah, we're super happy. And we do both. We do grants and funds and grassroots funding, which is also super important. And we will, I think also in the next report, we'll talk more about that, about the grassroots funding, because yeah, we just had a meeting that morning or this morning about that. We will roll out some more activities for the grassroots donation. I'm super happy to do that, and we will talk about that in the October report, I think so. And or do you want to add anything? Not to cut you off with the
No, I
finance
just,
part.
if I were to add something, it would be
Yep.
Anyone who's funded by third parties is being captured, and we want to be captured by the community. So we need our funding to come from the community so that the community decides what we build. And if you believe in Bitcoin as the future of money, then you need to support independent Bitcoin education. Otherwise, education will be co-opted. Education provided by corporations and governments will not teach about the very tools that undermine their control. So only independent Bitcoin education can push the needle and make Bitcoin a reality. So that would be my call to action.
Yeah, and now that you said that, I have another thought. Like, one is education gets corrupted, but make it like, my background is very commercial, right? So when you, for example, accept like a sponsor at an event, the sponsor will have some conditions under which they like sign the contract with you. And in the commercial world, that is absolutely normal. But what does it mean? It means that the original plan, you leave the original plan that you had to adapt to in order to collect that money, which is in the commercial world widely accepted and okay. But I think it's absolutely not okay in the realm where we are working. So I think we need to be very careful about that. And it could be as simple as a sponsorship, right? And this is what you said at the very beginning. It could be way easier if we would be an easier partner, bending to make it work. But yeah, we strongly believe in not bending, staying true to serving the community and nothing else. And this
Absolutely.
is why funding gets way harder. But again, we think in and believing in the success on the long run.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I talked about that earlier. We were super happy to show the first episode of the documentary with the beautiful name Bigger Than Bitcoin. We filmed in Kenya, at and around our conference in Nairobi. This is like yeah, I was super stoked. It was for me, it was a little bit overwhelming, right? Producing the event while showing a documentary. We literally finished, I guess, 2 hours before the actual screening. So it was super tight. We uploaded like the thumbnails that morning and did the last yeah, polishing in editing. It was super tight. So it was also a huge relief when we finally publish it and showcase it. And I think the result is yeah, absolutely beautiful. And again, I think I'm quoting you here, Quentin. I think we're producing the documentary to actually show the emotional side of our impact. The impact report, right, we're talking about is like mostly numbers, trying to make impact measurable on the logical scale. And what the documentary is actually supposed to do, and it's a tough job, but I think we made it work, is to show the emotional impact on individuals, on their lives. How does decentralized Bitcoin education actually impact their life. And I can just highly recommend, maybe I'm biased, to watch the documentary because Calvin, that's the guy you're seeing here on screen. Like his story actually really, really moved me. That he shared, and his story was actually more about like becoming a father, becoming a man, and Bitcoin education was the sub layer how he got there. Super cool. So it's a tough job, but this is what we're trying to portray in Kenya, in the Prague version, but also in the upcoming ones. And yeah, it's a really cool project, and I wish it could go on forever. And
Yeah, me too.
do you want to share some thoughts about that? I guess it was your quote showing the emotional side of the impact report or something.
Yeah, I say many things, so maybe not. Yeah, it's beautiful to see, and I encourage every Bitcoiner to watch the episode because, especially now, currently, with everything that's happening in the Bitcoin space, with the cold card hack happening, everyone is a bit black pilled at the moment, and we're like, what's the point of all of this, of self-custody is too hard, whatever. um this shows what Bitcoin is about, and at the end of the day, Bitcoin is just money. It's just a means to an end, and the end is self-empowerment. It's empowering your community, and this is exactly what this episode shows. So yeah, it will cheer you up if right now you're feeling a bit down about Bitcoin. That's the right thing to watch.
Yeah. It literally, this is like also being there producing that, it cheered me up. Like seeing what, like, yeah, the diploma at the event, seeing all the graduates, and then actually, like, Calvin is one of the graduates from the diploma, and then how he changed his life, but also more important, how he changed the life of at least 20 other people. Like, he's
Mhm.
working with young kids, taking them under his wings to pay them in sets for collecting bottles. This is like stories we need to portray even more, even in, like, let's say difficult or rough times like we have right now. So if you want to be cheered up, yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Watch that documentary. It definitely will raise your mood. Yeah, no, we were in Prague. We were that was a little bit insane. So we were producing the event, showing the first episode while filming. While the film were running, we were already shooting the second one in Prague. What you see here is like I guess in total a 2 hour interview we did with John, which is super cool, and we worked with Daniel Prince. Who is a member of our board, and his family. This will be very, very different from Kenya, but it will be super interesting. We're trying to showcase actually the life of a Bitcoin family. Like, how could your life actually look like if you're 100% running on Bitcoin? And actually also your children understand that, and your children, meanwhile, work in Bitcoin, right? Um, Super cool. Of course, we could capture interviews with a lot of, let's say, one of the biggest or the biggest voices in the Bitcoin space at the BTC Prague event because we filmed around that. Super cool. And yeah, we will let you know once we're ready to publish that episode. Do you want to add anything around that?
I cannot say much on this one because I haven't watched it yet, and I wasn't at the BTC Prague conference or in conference. So, yeah, but very excited to see what's uh what's in that episode.
Okay. Um, yeah, and this is a still ongoing process, I would say. And maybe because like I've worked on that like for quite a while now, maybe what we're trying to say, our mission and our why, do you want to, like, maybe you can reflect on that because meanwhile I'm blind to that because I'm in the middle of working on that almost every second day. Would you like to explain that message a little bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, Bitcoin is just a means to an end, and the end is empowered individuals. But even that is just part of the vision, right? What do we want at the end of the day? We want a better, freer, more fair world. And we know that the fiat system corrupts all the incentives to build that world because it concentrates power, it robs people from their value, from their time, from their energy. It shifts everything. We know even just fiat money has so many consequences on society. So we we try to with this slide we try to explain what Bitcoin enables. And even before that, upstream of Bitcoin itself, how independent Bitcoin education enables that better, freer world to exist. And it's pretty simple. Um, Independent Bitcoin education needs to be independent because otherwise it will be co-opted. If it is co-opted, it will be co-opted by those in power, and those in power do not want to relinquish that power, right? So education needs to be independent to teach about Bitcoin as incorruptible money, not as digital gold, not as an investment, as incorruptible money that will empower you as an individual, that will empower you as a family, as a community, etc., etc. And it's by, via, and through these individuals, communities, families that are empowered, that we can resist the general co-option of the world, the general centralization of resources that that allows us to create this better and freer world. So it's a very positive vision, and Bitcoin is at the center of that. But Bitcoin itself can only happen if it's taught to other people. And so that's why we're building this flywheel. We want Bitcoiners to teach other people that will become Bitcoiners, and that will teach other people, that will create communities and education projects, etc., etc. And this is how we create a better world in our view. So it's pretty simple, really. Like, we create the tools, the curriculum, the resources, the infrastructure for independent Bitcoin education to spread like a wildfire in a grassroots manner all around the world.
That's a good summary, and I would probably not add anything else. Um, it's a very good yeah, explanation. Um, and yeah, I think we can actually move on. I think again to a call to action. What I'm so interested in is, so I truly believe, like that very first sentence that we had there, I truly believe humans are born with boundless potential. You can do whatever you want, but like the system we're facing at the moment is limiting us. With like
Absolutely.
several reasons why that happens. And I think if you want to contribute to like that freer society, and that actually can people discover their potential, they have the freedom to discover that, and they can actually act on that. Um, like my true belief is you need to give something back, and to invest into education. And yeah, again, a call to action. If you really like what you're seeing, what you want to what we do, um have a look at the documentary. If you're more drawn to like the emotional impact side, have a look at the full impact report on our website. If you're drawn more to the logical side, we're trying to make everything that we do as transparent and accessible to everyone. And like you just said, yeah, we also we depend on people contributing also in financial matters to the movement. So yeah, that is how I would end like our today's chat, maybe with a call to action. This is how you could contribute and help us to keep doing what we're doing. It's donate.myfirstbitcoin.org. And if you have any questions, I guess Trey is also mentioned on that page. You can contact him. He's our guy in charge of that. And this is how I would end our today's recording. And thank you very much, Quentin, for your time. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah. The What can I say? We're not selling anything, and we're especially not selling our soul. So that's why we need funding from people that understand what we're doing. And what we're doing is independent Bitcoin education via independent Bitcoin educators. And we need to be supported by the Bitcoin community to enable all of that to grow, to ignite and grow this movement. So yeah, if you believe in Bitcoin, if you really believe that Bitcoin can become the world's money tomorrow, then today you need to support independent Bitcoin education.
That's a good last sentence. I thank you very much, Quentin.
Thank you, Patrick.
Have a great day.
You too.